This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment Blog, coming to another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations number 35. So this week, not by chance, it just happened. It was by chance. I mean, it wasn't on purpose. I watched 3 foreign films. First movie I watched was called First Cow. So everybody in this time period was gold rush. They're trying to find money, and you're just like, okay, this movie's 2 hours. You gotta excite me. It didn't excite me. Toby Jones, was one of the only people in this movie I heard of, and another white guy in the movie. I've seen him before in comedy. So it's like, okay, there's British people, Americans. One of the characters in this movie was Asian. I was just like, okay, cool. And they find a cow, and it supposedly makes this great cheese, and they're selling it and stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Find a cow, sell the milk and cheese because of gold. When everybody's looking for gold and the gold rush, yeah. It wasn't that great. It should not be 2 hours long, so yeah, don't watch it. Then I watched the movie Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and it's a French movie. And again, no need to be 2 hours. As soon as I got the plot, this woman from, a seminary who's in charge, and there's a woman who's doomed to be married, and they already got a house cleaner, but then they got somebody, quote unquote, that everybody gets their portraits taken. And it turns into she watches her and takes care of her in terms of walking her around and does stuff. And the two of them are all alone on this remote island, besides from the housekeeper lady, because the woman in charge is not always there. And they turn into a lesbian love affair. And it's just like, I can see it from that moment where, it's just what happened. And I was just like, I don't need it 2 hours to understand the whole point of this movie and to enjoy it. So, yeah, again, horrible movie. Then I watched the movie Greed by Steve Coogan, who's this, British comedian. And the thing is about him is I don't know if he's, just making a comedy or if it's a spoof about rich business owners in clothing, taking advantage of these countries like India and China and making them do manual labor for cheap prices. And he's supposedly this big-time guy, and then he obviously has money issues, and he's throwing this huge party for his 60th birthday. And Isla Fisher is his wife in this movie. Asia Butterfield's his son. And there's, some other actors that I've seen before, and it's just like, okay, cool. And there's cameos by famous people like Keith Richards. And the best part of this movie was that there was a flashback scene where he paid James Blunt to sing "You're Beautiful" to his wife. And the wife goes, "Did you pay for a whole show?" And he goes, "No, just one song," because he has one song. I took that like annoying because he has more than one song, and every other song is probably better than that song. But it was nice to see his cameo in there because, of course, the British guy making a movie, with a British character. So it was pretty funny, and it's an hour and 40-something minutes. So you're not wasting that much time even if you don't love it. It's hit or miss for certain people, but yeah, it was pretty clever. Then I watched a movie called Rogue, where I couldn't even find a Facebook page to, hit what I'm watching, for Megan Fox. She leads a team of, mercenary assassins, and one of the white guys on that team, I've seen him before in other cliche movies like this. And again, hour 4-something minutes, not that great. They're here to save some diplomatic person's daughter in Africa. There's wild tiger preserved there, and it's killing people. They got to deal with the rebels. Their flight home is destroyed because of the helicopter, and pretty much everybody died except for pretty much Megan Fox. And of course, they're not going to kill her off. And the only parts of this movie that made me laugh or chuckle, because again, bloody gore, CGI lions and killing people, and then just everybody dying, arms being ripped off, was when one character was unconscious, or they didn't want to get him to go unconscious because he would die. The one of the guys started singing Backstreet's Back to him. And then when they think they're about to die, because they're both wounded and they're just sitting down, they can't really move around, they all start singing Backstreet's Back again. So I was like, okay, cool. That was nice. I don't know if the writer's a Backstreet Boy fan, but that was a nice touch. Everything else about this movie was crap. Yeah, don't watch it. Then I watched Military. It was clever. It was interesting. But again, no need for the movie to be almost 2 hours, an hour and 50-something minutes. It was funny, but it's more of a drama. It's about the military wives in England, where they're bored, they know what to do, so they're singing while their husbands aren't there, and they become a choir. It's based on a true story, and all the other singing choirs of military wives. So it's pretty interesting. There was some laughs in there. It wasn't that bad, It's like, as I said, you watch it, it's hit or miss, and if you like it or not, and you'll laugh, and you'll be clever. It's pretty appropriate also. Then I watched the movie The Whistlers, where it's a Romanian movie where the dialogue can be in Romanian, English, or Spanish. And their subtitle. And throughout the movie, they're talking about how these characters all are speaking different languages. And the movie was dubbed in English. So after watching that long French movie and the fact that I had another movie in another language, I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to watch the dub version. Sometimes the dub version, the the mouths don't move correctly with what the character's doing, and the person that does it, their voice doesn't sound like it comes from that person's body. But basically, it's about like this cop who's like whose boss is corrupt and like plants evidence and all the other stuff, but then he is working with bad guys, and then is he double crossing the bad guys or the good guy? He meets a woman, and there's all this stuff with this woman, if he cares for her or not. His mother looked like his sister. She didn't look that much older because this guy looked pretty old. There's to do with like religious scenes in the church, and there's all these different bad guys dealing with, and who's in charge of him. And it's 90-something minutes. You're like, okay, I get it. The plot was interesting, where these bad guys, where they communicate with each other, they go to areas where you can hear sound traveling, and they Morse code like in whistling. Like you whistle and you could tell what they're saying, and they did it in English, Spanish, and Romanian. And it was like, okay, interesting idea, but it's sloppily put together of a movie, and they think by fast cars and murders and sexy women and blah, 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 corrupt cops that, it's going to be interesting, but it was definitely not worth it. And the last movie I watched was Parasite. This one is only in Korean with English subtitles. So I said, again, another foreign film. And you know what? Anytime a movie's 2 hours and 11 minutes, it has to get me to fully be into the movie and for me to, like, keep my attention. Like, if it's not going to keep my attention throughout 2 hours and 11 minutes, that's obviously with credits, and there's some throwaway, unneeded scenes, then yeah, I don't think it's the best movie ever. There's only been certain movies that were 2 hours plus, and I was like, great. I was so excited. I watched every minute. There was no, like, downtime and kept you into it. And obviously, it was a very clever story. It deserved to be nominated because I thought it was a pretty good movie. But I see a movie every day. And I don't think that I can clearly say it's the best movie I've seen all year or last year. I think it's in the running for a good film because it was a clever, interesting movie about a poor family where the son pretends to be the tutor because he's an English tutor, but he pretends that he's in university. And that turns into getting his sister a job, pretending that they're not related. Then they get the father to be the driver and the mother to be the housekeeper, but the housekeeper is the trickiest one of them all. And they're basically they're living life because they're getting paid, and they're all living in this nice house for this rich family who's nice but pretty stupid. And the girl, I'm confused if she's a high school kid or a college kid, but the guy in the movie's like a college kid, and they're like having some relationship. It was interesting. And everything's going great. And, that's the first half of the movie. Second half of the movie is when there's conflict. And it's like, okay, cool. Something happened that puts them at risk. And that's why it's called a parasite. Something from within is affected them. And their perfect situation that they're in now are affected. And they got to figure out what to do. And that's what the whole second half of the movie is. And then there are all these twist endings. And there's certain things that happen that you're like, why did that happen? Why did they choose this to happen? So you sit through it going like, okay. It took a while to get to the point of the movie, and then when it got to the climax, it took another hour plus to tell everything downhill from there. And you're like, okay, cool. It's not a bad movie to watch, but again, if you watch the movie in French and then there's a movie in Romanian, and then you sat through 1 2 hour plus movie, and you're just like, you know what? It's okay. It's not a bad movie, but it's not the best movie. I understand, like, a family that's struggling and whatnot. But Parasite is not the best movie of the year. It was pretty good, but it's had a lot of wasted scenes and didn't keep my attention. Whistler's interesting premise, horribly made movie. I only liked that it was dubbed in English because I thought it was a good idea. Military Wives and the movie Greed are like both British comedies where there are moments where you laughed, and Greed was pretty funny with a lot of cameos and things like that, but it's like hit or miss in your opinion. Megan Fox's Rogue, wasted time. Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I got the point of the whole movie, like within the first 30 minutes of the movie, going like, where are they going with this for 2 damn hours? And The First Cow, I understood the plot right away, and it just wasn't that exciting to be a 2 hour movie. Thanks for listening to another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations number 35. For On the Radar Entertainment Blog, I'm Radar. I'll see you guys next time.